Joining us now is Danie van Loggerenberg from the National Center for Child Protection, where he is the CEO. Danie, a very good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time. The last time we spoke, it was on the back of the release of a report that showed that so many staggering numbers of children who are exposed to and addicted to pornography.
Yes, well, thank you for having me again. It's sad that it's not ever under better circumstances, but you're correct. We sent out that warning with the stats that we released, specifically released it just before the December holidays, because we feared that these kind of things are happening more and more, and the more they're happening, luckily in this instance, they're going to come out and there will be arrests.
And today's arrest is one of many in recent weeks and months.
Yes, it is. So, and that just shows how important it is that when you suspect something like this, to report it, because it's so important. When you hear something, even just a suspicion, much rather report your suspicion than keeping it to yourself. These kind of people share this kind of information. They speak to other people. And when that happens, they need to speak up so that the police can do their job and find them, trace them, find them, and make sure that they don't harm any more children.
This particular man was arrested with an estimated 10 million pornography images and videos on various electronic devices. What?
Yes, and I mean, 10 million sounds a lot, but it's not really that much. And for somebody now listening to the first time, 10 million, once they get into what they are busy with, then the images upload quite rapidly. As you've known from your earlier reports, this was a whistleblower internationally reported this person or this alleged crime, and like the lady, the colonel said from the police, it's a borderless crime. So there's no border. There's no way to currently know if the photos and the videos were only South African children or children from all over the world. So it happens quite quickly. And the most important thing is just once you know something like this, to report immediately to save the following child from going through the same.
Now, the fact that there was a whistleblower who then exposed this, I would imagine, ring. I mean, does it follow that this man who was arrested could have been, or was definitely a member of a bigger ring that exists, or one of many that exists around the world?
So I cannot speak about details about this specific case, but what I can say is in most instances, these people share these kind of images with each other. That's why we get to a number like 10 million, and why somebody like me would say 10 million isn't a lot. Because this gentleman could have had 100,000 images, but sharing this with 20, 30 other people, and each of them sharing 100, 200,000 images is how we get to that 10 million. So the acceptance is always that they are gathering information or gathering photos, images, videos from all over the world, and they've met up with other people on the web that have the same interest in CSAM, child sexual abuse material. And they would be sharing these kind of images with each other. And he's definitely not, or in most instances, people like this do not operate on their own.
Typically, I mean, what's their modus operandi?
Well, they've unfortunately they've got an illness, and they then have this love for pictures of pornography, but children, which means minors under the age of 18. So that's their love, and that's what they want, and that's what they want to see. And they then link up with people that unfortunately have the same illness. And they then interact and share what they've got. And it's the same. For example, myself and you might like rugby or cricket or soccer, and we would exchange information on your favorite player and my favorite player. The only difference is that's not a crime. However, in instances like these, their love for certain things, which are illegal items, like you've mentioned when we started, there's possession, downloading, and distribution. And that distribution is exactly what we're talking about. That distributing what they've got with other people, and then also receiving images, videos, etc.
And what are the consequences of their actions? In other words, from there, what typically happens, and that which particularly affects children.
So the unfortunate part of all of this, wherever things like this happens, there's eventually money available. So some people might purchase these kind of images. And once there's money available, then unfortunately it changes the scope. For example, the gentleman you spoke to just before me, the neighbor, spoke about that fear of his nieces visiting him. And that's the kind of thing that happens, because now there's money available. When there's money available, there is different orders. So I would like a blonde little girl with blue eyes, for example. And those things then start happening, which means that a child that just visits somebody innocently might become a victim when they, for example, go to a bathroom or when they are left alone for a few seconds. So luckily in this instance, this gentleman has been caught, and I do hope that the law follows course and gives him quite a hefty sentence.
Of course, I mean, this particular arrest caught the neighbors by surprise. Other signs to look out for, say you in a home or in a neighborhood?
Unfortunately not. In hindsight, that's always easy to say, we should have known and so forth, because sometimes you just pass somebody and you've got kind of a gut feel. But it's very, very difficult. In many, many instances, when you find out about the person behind the online persona, it's a normal person, in many instances a normal man, married with kids. Marriage seems happy, kids seem happy, there's not a shortage of anything. But unfortunately, because they've got that illness, that addiction, you don't always see that. It's hidden. So it's very, very difficult to walk in the street and just spot that. So I'm not shocked that these neighbors wouldn't know that. The fact that the neighbor mentioned that this gentleman and his partner were introverted, that's not really a telltale sign. That's specific to people that have this illness and this love for child pornography. So that's such a difficult thing to spot. And that's why it's so important when parents have kids that share with them that they've been interacting with somebody that have asked them for photographs, even if it's just of their face, to share that and to not go to their children's devices and swipe it clean. Because that's what most parents do. They have this massive, I'm going to use the Afrikaans word, this massive skrik, and then they go and wipe all these devices. That's the wrong thing to do. Share that information so that, as in this instance, they can track and they can trace and they can do their job. And they've done an amazing job in this instance in tracking down this gentleman, finding the material that they were looking for, the 10 million images and videos, and then making the arrest that was needed.
We spoke, I mean, we ended a similar conversation the last time by talking about how important it is for parents in particular to have conversations with their children, but to also monitor their activities, including, of course, their usage of devices.
Well, 100%. And I'm so happy to have, for example, the opportunity to share it with a platform like yours that have millions and millions of viewers, because we've been beating this drum for so long. And it's just like most parents think their child is the exception to the rule. It won't happen to my child. It won't happen to my child. And then forgetting that the more I tell everybody it won't happen to my child, I actually eliminate my child's will and willingness to come forward and say, Mom, Dad, I know you said this is not happening, but unfortunately I made a mistake. And then these kids are caught in that web. So it's so important to have these open conversations, leave the channel open and say, you know what, this is happening in the world. This is real. If it has happened to you, there's no judgment, but please share with us so that we not only protect you, and that's what I always tell moms and dads, when your child comes forward, we're not only protecting your child, we're actually protecting all the other kids that would follow. And we, in this instance, this gentleman being arrested means a few kids that might have been targeted this weekend or images being sold and distributed and shared this weekend will no longer happen from this gentleman.
Danie van Loggerenberg, thank you very much for your time and insights. It's from the National Center for Child Protection on the back, of course, of that police operation that led to the arrest of a man found with an estimated 10 million child pornography images and videos on various electronic devices. This arrest, of course, coming on the back of several others in the past few weeks.